Hello everybody, welcome to the fourth installment of Rising Stars. Just in case you're wondering what this is or who I am, my name is Luphumlo Joka, founder of Global Leadership Consultants and author of The Ultimate Leadership. And by the way, we'll be giving quite a few copies away of this book later on, so do stay tuned in. This installment of Rising Stars is about one of the subjects that are dearest to my heart, and I would like to term or name it entrepreneurial leadership. And I want to start by taking you back to stats and figures that I'm sure you are aware of as a first, second, third, fourth year student, particularly at Nelson Mandela University. And I want to do that because I want to place a spotlight or a magnifying glass on some of the major challenges that we have, and we'll get to why this is so important. I was looking at some of the stats, our unemployment stats, and I was reading this earlier on, which is available out there, I think from Stats SA, and it says the official unemployment rate among youth aged 15 to 34 is 46.3%. So 46.3%. So half of the young people in our country that are aged from 15 till 34 are unemployed. So amongst all of the other problems that we have, which we don't want to get to, we've got this major problem of unemployment, and it's such an important problem to consider and to talk about, particularly for those of us who are going through the tertiary schooling system. And there are four things that I want to discuss, and I want to try and link them to my journey into my life and to why I am where I am and to how I got to be where I am. Not that I am somewhere, we've managed to employ about four young people. I think three of those young people are graduates of Nelson Mandela University in our company. And we're a young company, a youthful company. And we are where we are because of the opportunities that we've been given, mostly by Nelson Mandela University, but predominantly because of the initiative and because of the strides and the risks that we have taken. Now, there are a couple of things that I want to share with you that have helped me and that have helped many of my friends who are entrepreneurs, that I want to share with you as a student so that you can start to prepare yourself and so that you can start to change your mentality and your approach to this whole phenomenon of getting a job. So many of us as young people are still stuck in this mindset and in this mentality of getting a job. I must get my qualification so that I can go and work somewhere for a small salary and so that I can climb up a certain ladder. And that's the first thing I want us to break, particularly because it might just be that the certificate and the qualification you'll get will not be a guarantee for you for employment anymore. I've had friends who have studied big degrees, and big degrees, what I mean by that is, very, very important degrees that I won't term, those faculties that everyone is scared of. And I know for a fact that they have sat for years without jobs. Question is why? That is where we are as a country. So there are four things that I want to share with you today that I think you can do from today, particularly those of you that are excited about entrepreneurship, that are excited about starting businesses, that are excited about creating employment, and that have broken down this mindset of I must get a job, I must get a job, I must get a job. Four things. The first is the job dependency culture. A lot of South Africans are not employed, and because they're not employed, they fall easily into this poverty line because they've got a job dependency culture. They are placing their hope and their faith in someone else's hand, and that's the first thing that I believe, as a young person, we have to do away with. You and I can no longer be part of that community of people or part of that culture that is always depending on a job. South Africa. The South African government has made so many strides in making sure that young people get the necessary help that they need so that they can, in their own world, create their own jobs for themselves and create employment for other people. One of one of them is NYDA. I'm sure you all know of National Youth Development Agency. I think 5, 6 or 7 years ago, they funded us with some money. And from that money that they funded us, I was able to write and publish a book, So you've got institutions like the NYDA. You've got institutions like CEDA, the Small Enterprise Development Agency, of which we are a client and also a service provider for. You've got institutions like the Eastern Cape Development Corporation, ECDC. You've got institutions like CIFA, and CIFA currently has a funding thing that they are rolling out for young people currently, which stands for the Small Enterprise Financial Agency. And I can go on and on and on. And why is this so important? It's because this is the help that the government is providing so that you and I can escape this mindset of job dependency. Even when you get your qualification, even after you graduate, you don't have to depend on a job. You don't have to go and sit at home. You don't have to sit on your brain and not do anything. You can do something. You can start something. Luphumlo, how? I don't have money. That's your first problem. It's because you think you need money to start. You don't need money. I know it's not a popular view. You need your skill to start. If you have a skill, you've got a business. If you have a skill, if you got something that you can do with your hands, you are in business. Now you need to see, how can I start to trade? How can I start to sell my skill for money? I always tell this story. One of my first ever clients was I don't know what they call it now, but back then it used to be Unitas Housecom. And the way in which I landed, and at that time I was a student, and the way in which I landed the client was, I went in and hijacked a meeting that was supposed to be a meeting about something else. I went in, I told them, this is what I do. I'm a leadership coach. Imagine a leadership coach at varsity, and you are studying with your peers. I'm a leadership coach. I'm a leadership a scholar, and I want to talk to you about leadership. And one of the first gigs that I ever did was in a room full of student leaders because of the risk that I took. Why am I telling you this? It's because opportunities sometimes won't come to you. You have to go out and make sure that you create those opportunities for themselves. So the first thing to note is snap out of that job dependency culture. Snap out of that depending on someone else. Get up and go do something for yourself. We just came out of Youth Month, and there are so many instruments, there's so many things that government and even the private sector has made available. And I can go as far as saying university, different universities. I know that of late, in the past 2 years, there's been the formation of the University South Africa thing, where you can get involved, and there's always an annual competition that's going. I know 2 very prominent students that I've sat down with that have recently won a major competition because they got themselves involved in these competitions. So snap out of that job dependency mindset, even as a student, because you don't have to wait until you graduate to start. You can start where you are. You can start by having a tuck shop. I know the Nelson Mandela University has about 4 or 5 tuck shops, and I know of friends and people that have bought and have gotten their first cars from the money they've made from those tuck shops. So don't look down on that. Number 2, a solution-centered youth. I feel that one of the challenges we have is because we don't have a solution-centered generation of young people. We've got a generation of young people that in most cases like pointing out problems. And it's not only a young people problem. I think it's a general South African problem. We are very good at pointing out problems, and we tend to be very, very poor at coming up with solutions. So cultivate that mindset of coming up with solutions. One of the things I look at when I employ people in our company is, does this person have the ability to come up with a solution? Does this person have the ability to solve a problem? So we need to create and start to cultivate that mindset of being a solution-centered youth. The third thing, and I spoke about NYDA, CEDA, and all these other places. As a student, it's your responsibility to go out there and to check these places out. Don't only be stuck at res for 4 years. Then you graduate, and then you leave, and then you know nothing about the city and all of the help that you can get. Go and knock on the door of NYDA. I've got an application that's sitting here that's going to go to the Isiqalo Youth Fund again, and I've been rejected by them 3 times. So I'm going there for the 4th time now, and I won't tell you why they rejected me. But go out and look at these places, and don't look down on the power of relationship. And that's my final tip and my final point to you. Don't look down on the power of relationships. You are in university. Even if you're not in varsity, I think in one of the previous episodes, I spoke about a friend of mine who I was in varsity with, and we stayed together. We shared a room at one particular residence, and today, and he works in a big telecommunication company now. And today we managed to land quite a nice big deal because of the relationship I have with that person. And it's not nepotism. What happened was, I won't go into it, but the power of relationships is so important. So the relationship you build with the people that you're studying with, because you don't know where those people will land up. The people I studied with, most of them are lawyers in big firms. Some of them, are lecturing. Some of them have their own businesses. Some of them are heavily involved in community. One of them is a prince somewhere in Mpumalanga, soon to become a king. So you'll never know who is next to you. So I hope that makes a lot of sense to you as a student, as an emerging leader. Snap out of the job dependency, culture. Become a solution-centered person. Go and knock on the doors of these NYDA and all of these places. And lastly, learn how to read. Learn how to read. One of my favorite books that I'm reading currently, Lift As You Rise by Monang Mohale. Learn how to read. Learn how to read beyond your profession. Learn how to read beyond your qualification, beyond your discipline. You might be studying economics. So if you're an economics student, you shouldn't only be reading about economics books. You should go and read maybe about arts and all of the other things that are out there. Learn how to read so that you can develop a critical mind that can eventually provide solutions for the problems that we have. I hope that makes sense. Until next time, stay blessed.